Hello and welcome to the second episode of what we're now calling Screen Views. So we have a bit of a funny story to tell about the name. If anyone's listened to the previous episode, you would have heard us referring to our podcast as Mixed Reviews. But there's a bit of a funny story around that. James?
Yeah. Well, we would be geniuses. Like we thought while brainstorming the idea, we obviously needed like supplements. We obviously needed to survive, and we needed to like put stuff in our bodies to keep living because we're humans. And so we decided to use beer as our mode of fuel.
Yeah.
And we decided to come up with lots of names.
Mm.
And then yeah.
Well, when you say lots of names, it was like Mixed Reviews, Mixed Pigeons, and then Lashing of Lash Smithery.
Yeah.
And one of us, I can't remember who. After a few drinks, we checked on iTunes to see if there was a conflicting name, and we thought that there wasn't. So we went away happy.
Yeah. I think I checked and didn't check enough, and we went full pelt into this idea, full pelt into everything, and have long discussions about like changing it up a little bit, mixed review or mixed reviews, but turns out it's not as original as we thought.
No, so I suppose we should apologise to the makers of the Mixed Review podcast that is out there, and I'm sure it's very good.
Yeah.
So we sort of thought about settling on the podcast formerly known as Mixed Reviews, but that's a bit of a mouthful. Yeah. So we settled on Screen Views. Yeah. So
nice, easy,
comfortable, simple.
Okay. Like home cooking. Yeah. That's what you referred to.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So welcome to Screen Views.
Yeah. The first official episode titled Screen Views.
Although it's the second. Who knows what it'll be called?
Yeah. We can just change our name each week and just to confuse people. I think that would be a terrible idea. So I think for now we're going to stick with Screen Views until somebody else sends us a lawsuit or something like that, and then we can just change it again. It'll be fine. It'll still be us. Still be James and Dave.
We're obviously going to make loads of money off this podcast, so obviously people are going to be like after us
and that's when we can send the lawsuits to other people calling themselves Screen Views.
We'll have lawyers and retainers and everything.
That's totally going to happen. So this week we're going to discuss Tomb Raider and the Punisher. But before that, do you have any thoughts about Black Panther that we maybe didn't talk about or love that we discussed in the last episode? A re-review section of our podcast?
I think it's amazing how still great it's doing. Like Pacific Rim's out now, but it's still doing really well in the box office, and so it's not number one anymore, but it's still going strong. So the fact that we've not seen, it's not like out there. It's going to be in cinema for the next couple of weeks at least. So good on it. It's still going on. It's been a while now. Yeah,
I don't think I've changed my views on the Black Panther film or love. The only thing that I would say is that I thought I was maybe a bit generous with some of the CGI stuff, because I know we isolated the rhino section, and that still stands for me. But also, I think I was a bit generous with some of the fights that were very clearly both CGI character doubles, and they just look a bit bendy. Do you know what I mean by that? You know, they look like plasticine and not people.
Yeah.
When they're sort of falling and fighting at the same time.
Oh, we just talk about the two Black Panther characters in that final fight.
Yeah, in that sort of scene, yeah. So I think maybe the CGI just... Again, I don't think it's a criticism of anybody, but we need to turn our phones on silent, James.
It's on airplane mode.
Airplane mode. You're still getting messages through.
Yeah.
You need to have a word about that.
Yeah, damn. The airplanes aren't safe, people. The airplanes aren't safe. My phone...
You're still getting messages.
Yeah.
It's just so popular, James. That's what it is. It's people contacting us about the podcast.
Yeah.
It's all those fans out there that we've got.
Yeah, screen
Yeah,
reviews are like
it's like
we know we're
taking
listening.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my love for the film hasn't really wavered. I haven't really gone back and thought. I haven't double thought about it. I watched the film quite a few times before our first podcast, so and I had time to reflect. I didn't really think that. Then again, it'll be interesting to look back in the film in like a year's time and see if it does still hold up, because sometimes stuff with like graphics, like I think a lot of the graphics are great, but then in a year's time we may think, oh my god, it's terrible. But yeah, my overall view is it's still a good movie. Still enjoyed it, and I'll probably see it again while it's still in the cinema.
Yeah, good stuff. So should we move on? Because I don't think there's anything really to add about Love. Have you watched any more of that? Or?
No. But
Okay.
I'm still anticipating it. I will watch it. I'll binge it all in like one sitting.
You need to get on that because it's good.
Mm.
Okay. So we're going to start off with Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Directed by a man with an incredible name called Uthaug. And that's how I'm pronouncing it anyway. I'm sure that's incredibly wrong and offensive to that person as to how to pronounce their name. But to me, it's just like...
But we'd like to invite him to this podcast if he wants to correct this. So,
he could come in and correct us and then tell us about his creative decisions during this film.
Be a worthwhile journey, I think.
Yeah. So do you wanna start, James, with the review? Yeah. Remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie, as we discussed last week.
No, So I went to this film and I had very low expectations. I had some worries about it last week. Thankfully, I don't think the issues that I was worrying about it. Some are justified, some aren't justified, and so I think my issue was how binary the silliness of the movie and the seriousness of the movie is going to be, and actually, because I thought it was going to go back and forth a lot, so it'd be serious and then dumb jokes, serious and then dumb jokes and serious and dumb jokes, and in terms of the tone of the film, I think they actually keep it quite under wraps. I think they actually keep it. It does keep one consistent tone. And it doesn't go from a silly comedy to an action movie to a silly comedy to an action movie. And to that, I think the film has many pros and cons, but in that sort of aspect, my generalness is it's not as negative as I thought it would be. I'm not sure what you want me to go into.
Well, I suppose we need to explore it, because for me, I think the cons outweighed the pros quite heavily with this film.
Okay.
I think that I'm trying to think of positive things to say, and I'm struggling, which is difficult. I suppose for me, I thought it was appropriate for the age rating, perhaps. So I think the kind of storytelling and the dialogue was. It felt like 12-year-old me would love this film because I'd be just about old enough that I'd be able to watch it, or 12 below, so maybe 10-year-old me would also love it, because it was quite simple. It's about family relationships, a lot of themes around love between a son and a daughter. So I think most young people can connect with the themes involved. The level of threat was sort of there, in the right way, is what I mean. Is that you didn't ever, it didn't get too fantastical, which is a break from the Tomb Raider games actually. So I thought, on reflection, that the film, if it was trying to target that younger audience, then it's maybe done a good job. However, adult me was not a fan.
I think what you said there, in terms of simple, I think that sums it up. I think this is sort of a film which sort of ticks all, if you've got to create a sort of a film for that age range and have tick boxes, I think it does on paper tick quite a lot of boxes. And I think, but it just does it all in a quite a simplistic way. I've got a few positives.
Well, it's yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the problem for me as an adult. It's just two dimensional in
Yeah.
terms of both character development and narrative.
Yeah. You will remember this in a year's time or a month's time, but for an evening of just escaping. I mean, I like to think of a movie like a week to 2 weeks to a few months. I like movies to last in my head. But
Yeah.
in this movie, it's sort of like you can't really take anything away from it because it doesn't really try and there's no really point to the movie. I think every movie tried to tell a certain story and tried to set.
Yeah, no, but again, I suppose like as a 10-year-old, if you watch a film that's about killing one to save the many, maybe there's a takeaway there.
Yeah. The things which can I ramble on?
Yeah, go for it.
Things that I really love. I forgot, like, go from the Angelina Jolie movies. Forgot that Lara Croft is English. And like looking back at the movies, I don't really, and I just thought like actually seeing London in the opening of this movie, and I just thought like, cool. I completely forgot that it was like is actually someone who's English. I know the actress isn't English, and the character is English, but yeah, I thought that was really interesting. They had that sequence in England. In terms of what other positive things did I think? Thank you. I just thought like I'm just gonna go into negatives actually.
Just keep racking your brains. I mean, like literally good at meeting target audience. I think that was. I think it's hard to judge a movie if it is for a certain, if it is really targeted at a young audience. But I question whether that's what they were trying to achieve. I feel like they were maybe trying to achieve a film that parents could take young, 12 downwards. It was a 12A, wasn't it? Yeah. So that basically means that parents can take their children to see that film. And so maybe they were thinking that they could appeal to both fans of the game, adults and children, and I don't think for me they kind of managed that.
I don't think they I think because every single point they tried to go for, and I'm glad they tried to go for quite a few things, but I think they failed on each of them. So in terms of, I like the idea that the villain is not the villain. The villain of this movie is not part of the villain's organization. He's just been hired by the villain's organization. He just wants to go home. He's not trying to be horrible or evil. He just wants to go home. He needs to get the job done to go home. He's not trying. He doesn't really care about Lara Croft. Lara Croft just getting in his way.
Yeah.
All he wants to do is just get home. I kind of like that idea. This is not someone who's evil by heart. He's just been here so long, and he doesn't want to be here anymore. He wants to go home to his family. And so that on paper, the idea of that, I thought was a really interesting villain. Unfortunately, I don't think it comes across like that because I think the character's so blunt and so stunted. You can't really see. It's in the dialogue, but it's not really in how the character's portrayed. Yeah,
because I mean, what I felt like with the dialogue as well is that it was written by somebody who doesn't speak English, and it's funny that you should describe it as like blunt, because there was a lot of lines where I was like, people don't talk in that way. Why are they talking to each other in that way? And that's what strikes me is that it didn't feel like somebody was writing in English language properly, and that felt weird to me. Like it just didn't, like there was a few instances, and I can't think of all of them, but one example that I can think of was the whole repeated dad loves you, and it's like, do dads talk in third person? I don't like. It's a bit weird because to me that maybe that's just my adult brain going, "Daddy loves you." That's a bit weird. Why would you say "Daddy loves you"? That just, that I don't know. Is that how parents can talk to kids, or would they not just say "I love you"?
I did grow up with my dad, so I can't.
Oh no, sorry, Jason. I feel like I'm like, oh no, I didn't.
He's still alive, but I did grow up with him.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure. But in general, people don't.
Yeah.
They don't say Dave likes you, James. Dave's a friend with you, James. They just say, "Oh, hi, James. You're my friend."
There was also in terms of like when he was like in the cave and he's like, "Oh no, you're not here, and you're not here," and it seemed to like I sort of got what was happening straight away. But then the dialogue kept on going on. It's like you always see her here, and she never goes away, and they never go away, and I always see them. I was thinking, I got what you were doing in the first line.
Yeah, but that's why I think again that's what makes me think that they were trying to target this younger audience a lot more because yeah, I mean I was just like I don't need that explaining to me.
Yeah.
So maybe they just, but maybe an 8-10-year-old needs that explaining to them.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's why they were doing things like that. But having said that, I think an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old or can understand in English how to talk to each other in a way that's not stunted or blunt, like you say. And that to me throughout the whole film just felt a little bit weird and a little bit like jarring.
I think because I love it with films where they go to a different country, and then as soon as you hear, do you speak English? Every single character from that point onwards speaks English, no matter where they are.
Yeah, and we spoke about that, how Black Panther didn't do that last week. Yeah,
and in this film, she did do it. She's in Hong Kong, and then she passes some random people by, and she goes to some kids who speak English. They speak English, and every single character up from that point speaks English. And it's sort of like, it really wound me up because it's something which I've said it before and I'll say it again. Do you speak English should not be allowed in scripts because it's just an excuse to allow
to change the dialogue. Although one thing I would say is Inglourious Bastards does that really, really well in that opening sequence. Yeah, and it just sort of turns it all on its head, and it's there's a purpose to them switching from a foreign language into English, so the people under the floorboards can't understand what he's saying. Yeah, and like so little things like that. If you can find ways to just sort of twist it into there being a reason, then yeah. I mean, I think so. There's a few sequences in this film that, like, if you haven't seen the film, are quite. You might not be able to follow what we're talking about, but that scene when she first gets to, is it Japan or China? It's Japan, isn't it? She goes to Japan to get the boat to go to the Japanese island, isn't it?
But I don't know. I don't want to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to just make that assumption. Yeah. But anyway, she gets there, and she bumps into those youths, and they sort of trick her basically, and it causes a chase sequence. Now, I don't know about you, but if you're chasing somebody and somebody's chasing you, vice versa, most of the time you don't end up at the point where you want to be at the end of that chase. You end up in a random location where you don't know where you are, you don't know who's who. But for some reason they took the creative decision that she would I'm talking too loud and I'm getting too excited. That's what the thing is, James. The point is that she's being chased, but she's looking for a boat, and at the end of that chase, she ends up on the boat that she needs to be on like at least near to that boat that she then spots it. Yeah, I'm just like. I found that that was just ridiculous.
And the guy speaks English.
yeah. He speaks English, and he has the same problem as her as well. It's like let's just create the same problem. Your dad's missing. Oh, my dad's missing. Yeah. Oh, hey, should we go search for your dad's? No, it's really dangerous. Oh, here's some money. Okay, let's go. It's just like so two-dimensional.
They also set off this sort of like gambling issue that he has. But they don't try and resolve that whatsoever. It's sort of like they set up this character, and he's sort of like, okay, so this is his character, his background, and I'm assuming we're gonna have something at the end in terms of like, I don't know whether he goes for the money or goes. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
like
just
false hero. What's
yeah
he in it for? Yeah,
yeah
that was just like I felt like that was like, oh no, we can't go down again. It's more evidence that it's for a younger audience because those kind of three-dimensional issues like about drinking, and because you're right, like they get to that character arrives with Lara to the island, and he then basically becomes like a normal like hero, and in some ways he's like trying to save people more than Lara Croft is. It's like she's just obsessed with her dad. He's like trying to help all the enslaved locals and like help them get away, and she's just obsessed with her dad, and like that's it.
There's, in terms of like the evolution of her courage is not really clear either. So at the beginning of the movie, she can't fight for shit. Like, well, she can fight, but she loses the battle.
Well, she loses the like UFC.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and then she's like, and then it shows she's clever with the bike ride, and then
then fails.
Yeah, and then she's on that chase in a chase with in the chase sequence we were just talking about. And the start of the chase sequence, she has this jump which she can't do. She hesitates, and then in the same sequence, she has an even more impressive jump where she hangs onto a chain and swings all around. And there's no reason for the evolution of like, okay, she starts this chase sequence and she's just a bit unsure of herself and she can't do simple jumps. But at the end of the chase sequence, she can do this massive jump, and it's sort of like there's no reason for any of these evolutions of like, if she was stuck in a situation where she has to sort of fight or flight, and then she fights and she overcomes a fear, then that's great. But I didn't really feel any reason for her overcoming fears in this movie. So one more thing, sorry. Suspension. This film sort of like pays so much time into the first time doing stuff, it just forgets everything else. So, first of all, this is when the film, they almost don't raid a tomb.
I know. I was thinking about you. And
so I was looking at my time when they raided the tomb. I was thinking, this is like an hour in. It's like, damn. And so they let her go down first for reasons we don't know. Let her go down first, and it's all luminous. What might happen? Oh, we don't know. She lands, and it cuts to them all going down. And then it's about her. And then there's a sequence where there's a booby trap on the floor, and someone steps in it.
Which is like exactly the same as a booby trap that we've seen in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but the thing that I love from it, the next scene, no one's looking at the floor, and they step on something else on the floor, and they don't learn from their mistakes.
Well, I mean, I think throughout the film, one of the notes that I made was that there was just like a lack of emotional development as well. So, like, this is supposed to be an origin story of how Lara Croft becomes Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And there's no emotional development. So at the start, she's, she's kind of like a broke, but had been spoilt in the past rich girl. And she's not a murderer. She's not like raiding tombs, like you say. She's not like killing enemies. She's not fighting anyone. So we see her sort of, that she has the potential to be skillful in terms of agility and all of those kind of things that you need to become Lara Croft. But when we get to the scene where she actually kills somebody for the first time, it's actually quite a good sequence, that the fight in the mud. And so we sort of see her kill somebody for the first time, but there's no reaction to that. And then we see Robinson Crusoe turn up, and then she starts chasing him, and it's just like I just felt that the film could have hung on to those moments a little bit more of like, you know, I've just survived a crazy aeroplane thing. Now I've been forced by my hand has been forced to kill somebody, and this is quite emotionally sort of shocking. And then from that point on, maybe she tries to not kill people and just sort of like, you know, I just felt like the steps. So it's almost like she kills that first person. There's no emotional reaction to that. She like meets her dad and then picks up a bow and arrows and starts killing people. Yeah. And there's like, it was just like moving through the steps way too quickly and not hanging on those moments that make us human, that would have made the film a little bit more interesting. And the other thing that like really annoyed me about that first death scene was that guy had guns, and she just left his body behind to go and pick up a bow and arrow. It's like if you've killed somebody at night in the jungle, and you've just like had an incident where you've fallen down a waterfall in an aeroplane, and you kill somebody in the jungle for the first time, and then you see some like weird figure, like, do you just get up and go after that weird figure, or do you pick up the guns that are next to the dead body in order to help you survive? So I think if this film was, I think they should have gone down what the games aspect of the Tomb Raider reboot was about. Because I was just talking to Josh, our friend at Till Death Do Us Press Start, who was informing me that the computer game is about survivalism. And so I think if they'd maybe gone down that route a bit more, I know they maybe wouldn't have ticked the raiding tombs box for you.
You might have needed to raid a tomb to get out of.
Maybe. Like, I think you could be a bit creative with that. But there was a lot of like defying kind of logic. I mean, maybe you could argue that she was messed up in that situation. But then if you're messed up in that situation, you don't go chasing a crazy figure that you've just seen after you've killed another crazy figure. So either way, the logic doesn't add up.
I think even if she even the next day when she goes out to attack them, she could have just got a bow and an arrow. She could have just got the gun. Even if she just does follow the guy, oh, Dad, it's you, and everything. The next day when she could have just gone down and just grabbed the gun then.
Yeah, exactly.
But if in the flashback sequence they had like a hunting sort of, rather than just like a, hey daughter, I'm about to go now, and rather than having that like the weird sequence, if you have like a proper hunting sequence, so a father and daughter go out hunting and they use the bow and arrow just to be silent, just to make sure that nobody sees them, if they gave a reason for why someone would choose a bow and arrow over a gun, then maybe that would be like oh cool, that's why she's going for bow and arrow. But she
throws the gun to the dad, and then she's got the bow and arrow, he's got the gun, and they're off like raiding some tombs together. And I mean, so emotional development aside, I think they were like just negating narrative logic there, which is for me an issue. It's a bit like the disease aspect at the end. So this whole thing was like, okay, there's this ancient body that's been put away that if you touch, you then become diseased. So within that sequence, there was a couple of things that were just like unbelievably not narrative logic. So first off, there's this ancient person that's been put in a tomb who was diseased. So why do all the characters assume that if you blow it to smithereens, that's going to kill the disease? There was never a line. Nobody at any point said, well, all we have to do is burn the body and it won't become airborne. Whereas I'm sat there thinking, well, hang on, why is everybody assuming that if we blow this up, that's going to save the world? Like, it just didn't make sense. And the other thing that didn't make sense as well is that one guy, like, touched the thing and then turned instantly.
Yeah.
And then another guy touched the thing, the disease thing, and then it took like 10-15 minutes to turn.
And turned like a zombie rage thing. When the
Yeah,
first
and
person
it was
had
like-
consciousness of his whole body while he was turning.
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
second person,
Yeah, it was suddenly like
Yeah.
this enraged
yeah,
person. And yeah, so not only do we, there was no line about there was no explanation about blowing it out, because my thought was just, well, why didn't the ancient people just burn her body and then everything would have been fine? Like,
Yeah.
no tomb, no island, no dad getting lost for 7 years, and happy families. Like,
yeah.
so I think it was just flawed, and unfortunately, but again, maybe, like I say, if you're writing a film for 8, 10-year-olds, then they're not going to question that kind of logic, I guess.
I was expecting to want to be walking out of it. I watched the whole movie, and I think that's sort of complimentary. It's sort of like, it's not unwatchable.
Yeah.
It's,
well, I can't really comment because I've never walked out of a movie. So, sorry.
No worries.
I just wanted to...
Yeah.
Because have you walked out of a movie?
Yeah, especially nowadays, because I pay for like the cinema card, and so if I've come to watch a movie and it's like halfway through and I've just got no interest in it at all, and I know there's another movie that's just about to start, I think, you know what? I know I'll enjoy that movie more. I cut my losses, and I'll do that sometimes. Mostly on kids' movies, but some adult movies I've just gone. When I say adult movies, the movies for adults. I'm not like walked out on adult movies. Like, there's too much flesh for me. I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. The film is also trying to be clever when it's not clever. Do you know, like, the moment where I go, like when she figures stuff out and she's like, oh, the colour of life, and like, oh, the colour of...
Yeah.
It just kept winding me up, because like, if you're going to create puzzles, it needs to be at least somewhat the audience needs to be able to work it out, rather than like looking at the paper thinking, she doesn't look angry at all.
Because
why is this evil? Why is this an evil person? It doesn't really matter if the woman at the end is whether evil or she volunteered. It's still the same narrative. The legend is still exactly the same.
Yeah,
You've not worked out anything different.
But just the basic thing about the puzzle, there wasn't enough clues for the characters to work it out.
Yeah.
So you didn't, as the audience, you didn't get that satisfaction of, oh yeah, I've worked it out before the characters have. It was just unsolvable. It was just like, let's put a different colour stone in until Lara decides that, was it like green and blue or something?
Yeah. Well, I also couldn't figure out why that worked. You know, I really liked like the old Indiana Jones things, because like he pushed something and something else rolled and something else rolled and something else rolled, and it caused a chain reaction. Yeah. And then from that chain reaction, you saw the result of it. Yeah. With this one, it's sort of like, okay, you just put 2 random stones into a thing, and then
the door opens.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden can then read the thing, and it just I don't understand. Well, what was nighttime? Or what if there's no light?
Yeah.
Would it still work?
But I don't know. It's probably that the tomb was set so there'd always be light in that puzzle. You know, or if you were there at night, you would have just died. So it was just pure luck. But that's the thing. It didn't feel like they were like towards the end. The dad was like, "Oh, you were the like Tomb Raider that I could never be," and I didn't really feel that. Because I just thought, well, anybody could have worked that puzzle out, because they just tried all the different combinations until like something worked. Yeah, like, where was the skill in that?
They've been there for like 7 or 8 years so far, and then they found this tomb for a day, and after a day they're like, oh, we can't even work this out. We can't even get into it. Like, oh, we need this guy research. Is it possible to get into? Like,
well, I suppose what they would. With that, they were trying to find the entrance, wasn't it? They'd spent 7 years not finding the entrance. They finally found the entrance, and then realised that they couldn't open the door without the the skill of a father.
But then again, it's the amount of, I don't know, and it's just like the fact that the little key thing that she left in the boat was really irrelevant. She just needed to learn how to. Also, like a mini puzzle. If you learn how to open that little mini puzzle thing.
Well, you could open them. Yeah.
That just felt like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, should we? Can we maybe talk about cinematography? Because I feel like we've like slated the. I mean, I don't know. Again, I still stay with the standpoint, although this makes me question a little bit. There's no such thing as a bad movie, and that's how little I subjectively liked the film. But I think what we can conclude from the narrative is that, for me, if I was 8 or 10 years old, I'd maybe think very differently about this film.
Yeah. I think as a parent, you could take these, you could go along with the movie. You won't fully enjoy it, but it's watchable, and you could be with them while they enjoy it.
Yeah,
I think.
So I suppose we're jumping ahead to the sort of recommendation here, aren't we?
Yeah,
but maybe we just need to move on because I think you could maybe make your own mind up about cinematography and editing and.
There's one thing I will point out. Last week I said about like I hope it doesn't look like all in the studio. I hope it feels like a real place. At no point did I feel like it was a real place, a real environment. It felt like you cut to this setup, a cut to this setup, cut to this setup, cut to this setup. I didn't feel like you were moving through.
Yeah, again, that's why I think they should have gone for that survivalist element, because that would have, if they'd gone for survivalist, if they'd done it all location shooting, and made like a Tomb Raider Revenant film, that would have been awesome. But like you say, it was just too studio sort of not, and I don't mean necessarily studio based, but more like just like doing it to please like studio execs. And
I will do some research to find out if they did actually shoot anything on location.
Yeah, let's have a look into that, because we don't want to like.
But if they did, it's a shame, because I don't think they really captured the environment, and not in a memorable way. If I'm rewatching it, I might notice more now. But like looking back on the movie, I can't think of
I mean, I felt like there was it felt to me like there was a lot of emphasis on CGI stuff that and it should have felt could have felt a bit more real. I didn't mind the CGI as much because they were very compact sort of moments. So when it was CGI, it was an all CGI thing, rather than having snippets of. I don't know. I just felt like, okay, this CGI sequence. Okay, this CGI sequence. So
I just one more point.
Go on. No, you go. Sorry, I feel like
the cutaway to so the guy who owns the boat. So he started having, like you say, a better story of saving everybody. So all the people that are there for their slaves, you're going to saving them. And then he decided to turn around and said, I can't leave her. And they built up this emotional, it's like he's doing it on his emotions, like, oh, we can't leave her, when he hardly knows this girl. And they keep cutting back to, pointlessly, to all these slaves walking back to the tomb. And then when they get to the tomb, they're grabbling rock. It just seemed like really pointless.
Yeah, it was pointless. I mean, what that should have been is that the bad guy should have thought he'd got away with it, left Lara in the tomb to die, gets out, and then all the slaves are there to take their revenge on him.
Yeah.
And then that way, that gives them a purpose, but it also gives him, he reaped what he sows in that sense, that he oppressed people for so long that they finally gets what's coming to him.
Laura gets to say goodbye to her dad while he's dying. Thinks she's going to die alone as well, and then the slaves come down and save her. Just something. But the disease is airborne now, and everyone's going to die anyway. So if the dad blew up the entrance of the tomb, so basically he walks back with Laura, and Laura gets him out like she thinks he's going to save him. And then he like pushes her away,
Yeah.
and blows up the entrance to the tomb on him inside.
Yeah, to stop anybody
Yeah, I think. Yeah, but
getting to the tomb.
yeah,
Just find some way to,
yeah,
because like, yeah, or explain something how the disease can be stopped.
yeah.
So I think, I think the reason that we're talking so heavily about the narrative is that it was the biggest issue in this film.
Yeah.
And so some of the visuals are, totally fine, I guess. But I think they should have just make everything a bit more real, a bit more human, give some emotional development. And I think, it's a good to compare it to something like Indiana Jones, because I think Indiana Jones films fit that box of a younger audience, an older audience, everybody. It's a family film, and you can all enjoy it together. And Tomb Raider, for me, I would only recommend it for adults who want to switch off for an hour and a half and keep their kids satisfied, or keep them quiet for so my recommendation for this film would be anyone should go to see this if they want that, if they want something completely mindless that they can switch off to. They're not bothered about good acting or dialogue, or that's okay. Like if you just want a little sort of movie to switch off to, or even like you could even put it on in the background, I guess. And
it's half term as well. Kids get to go. Kids get a discount. If you've got kids, get them to go to cinema.
Yeah,
quite house for like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah, because I can totally see my 8-10-year-old self watching that film, thinking it's the best thing ever, wanting to have a bow and arrow or something, and so I think if a lot of the creative decisions were made to please that younger audience, then they've done a good job, I guess.
I think for me, I think I think it's all right, but I just think inside it you had the potential of it being so much more. I mean, to like to say the bad guy, his characteristics had the potential of actually being on paper. That actually sounds quite interesting.
Yeah,
so he's not a part of the villain comedy, and the fact that
it does make you wonder how much they were reined in by producers or people saying you can't do this, you can't do that, and re-edits or trying to get it down to a 12A.
It's a shame because, like I say, I think there's so much stuff about it that's actually quite interesting, and I kind of like the idea that the film is about Laura trying to save her dad, but ultimately can't do it. And I think they never used that at all. I never used that. In fact, at no point did I feel like after the dad passed away, at no point did I feel like the character was sad at all. There's no longing, there's no missing, there's no.
That's because he was like creepy.
Yeah.
Daddy loved you.
Yeah.
No, don't. Dominic. I felt sorry for Dominic West in this film a little bit. Because he is a good actor. And they just sort of turned him into some poor dialogue acting. Robinson Crusoe character. So I hope he got paid handsomely for this film, because I'm not sure he'll be including it. Not that he needs a show reel, but I don't think he'll be including it in your show reel.
Yeah, no point. Yeah, it's a shame. But hope you guys find some enjoyment out of it.
I think you could like I say, for a non-film buff, I think you totally go to see this film and just and really enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't think, like I say, I've walked out of movies before. I don't think I would have walked out of it even if I paid full price for it, because I'm not got it illegally, got my cinema card. Even if I paid full price for it, I think I would have watched it and I would have thought, there's I could see some pros and cons to it. and I like the idea of what this film could have been, and yeah, so it's not a terrible movie. And in terms of like video game movies, we get when people are going, oh my god, they're all awful, they're all awful, they're awful. Actually, I think this
That's
is just
me.
yeah. I think this film is reaching a point of neutral. I think it's aiming up. Aiming up there.
I think for the issue for me was that I prefer the old Tomb Raider films, and that's saying a lot. But I haven't watched them for a while, so if I went back to watch them now, I'd probably think that they're maybe not as good. I don't know.
With the old Tomb Raider films, I think you have to hate that genre rather than hate the films, because I just think from my memory of it, I think they successfully done what they aimed to do. In terms of this, like they said, this is a film we're presenting.
Yeah.
This is sort of people we've presented this trailer. If you like the trailer, you probably like this movie. And from what I remember of it, it wasn't disloyal to what you saw of it. A bit like the scary movies and them sort of like a disaster movie.
It was never going to be highbrow sort of like.
Yeah, them movies were never amazing, but they were always what they promised to be.
Yeah, and they're like Ronsil movies. Do exactly what they say on the tin.
Yeah.
We should probably mention that there's other sealant cans available
at your local
Okay.
We are not sponsored.
So I suppose in a sense that like a lot of computer game movies I think fall into that category is that they sort of do exactly what they say on the tin, which is that they're going to be a mindless action film.
But this one wasn't as advertised. No, I felt like this was going to have like a lot of heart to it, and like you're going to see the really gritty side of Lara Croft. You're going to really see it grow up, and you're going to really see the struggles.
Well, she did scratch her forehead at one point. That was pretty. And she put some bandages on as well. Did you notice that? Yeah,
and I was like, she got stabbed, and like it really hurt her for like half an hour. And then she got all about that.
I know if I get stabbed, I just like brush it off after half an hour.
Yeah. Dad sewed it all up, so it's so good. And he went through her, right? Yes, it was through her.
Well, it looked. It's painful.
Yeah.
But
I think I would have benefited if the flashbacks were more of them hunting.
Oh, I think it. Yeah, I don't like coming away from a movie thinking that we could have written a better film.
Yeah.
And that for me is probably a good test of is this film doing a good job? Because we're not claiming to be the most amazing filmmakers. But I think we could have, with the right budget, we could have given it a good go.
Well, we're trying to help it along with we're trying to say well, this is all right, but if they did this, it'll be kind of interesting. So we're not even trying to reconstruct the film completely. We're not even saying we'll do a different film. We're saying, well, if they did, yeah. Or even I don't know. It's it's just a shame.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's not the worst. It's not the worst movie. It's watchable. I enjoyed it. I got some enjoyment out of it, and I think somebody like you. I'm going over the same points.
Well, maybe we need to just move on. And put that one to bed, or put it in a tomb.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Put Tomb Raider in the tomb.
I don't think we'll be raiding a second one. I don't think they'll be making a second one. I tried to make a pun now about raiding a second one too.
Oh right. No, you're just getting.
Yeah. I don't think there'll be a sequel. Which is
Well, they tried to set it up for a sequel at the end, which was terrible as well.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know. I guess it's that thing that if anything's profitable enough now, it'll get a sequel. So
yeah. Reboot.
Maybe we can look into that for next week. See if there's any rumors around about that. Yeah. Okay, so let's move. Not so swiftly on to the Punisher from Netflix and Marvel. So as I was saying earlier, James, I'm up to about episode 10, I think, 10 or 11. So I can tell you what point I'm at.
Before you tell me that point,
there's
one question: have you seen Daredevil season 2?
Yes.
Cool. Okay.
Yes.
So you've seen the
yes,
introduction of the Punisher character.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I really liked.
Good. Yeah. And there's
So-
some people who haven't seen that and they
Yeah.
just got straight to Punisher. But go.
Okay, cool. So I'm not quite finished yet, and I've just got to the point, spoilers, where the Punisher has just been revealed again to the public.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So at the start of the season, he's presumed dead to the public, and I've just got to the point where he helps his friend out from a bit of a difficult situation.
Yeah.
With a bomb, and he has escaped. The Punisher has escaped, but the consequence is that the public knows that he's alive again. So that's kind of where I'm up to with it.
Cool.
So my initial thoughts are, I found the first 4 episodes quite difficult, and I don't know whether it was. I can tell by your facial expression, James, that you don't necessarily agree with that.
Trying to work out the first 4 episodes.
Oh, right. But basically, once I got past those 4 episodes, I started to really enjoy it. So I should probably mention that the Punisher is probably my most favourite comic book character.
Awesome.
So I'm a huge fan of the Punisher. Even the Tom Jane. Was it Tom Jane? He was the Punisher a while ago in the John Travolta movie. Do you remember that?
Sort of. I've seen them movies very briefly when I was too young to watch the movies.
Right. But yeah, they were like. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Again, it was sort of. I suppose you may be describing Credibad with, but and maybe again.
One of them is really good.
I mean, I think maybe again, if I watched it again, I wouldn't. I'd maybe be a bit more critical now. But so I'm a huge fan of the Punisher as a character. I think for me, he's appeals to me because he's similar to Batman in that he doesn't necessarily have any superpowers. He's just a messed up, angry guy, and I think there's a revenge element that I really like. And so I think, and plus he's not Batman, so everybody's chooses Batman, don't they? So for me, the Punisher is the logical alternative choice to Batman in terms of favorite superhero. So maybe it's just my expectations were there, or maybe I just wasn't. They were doing too much setting up in the first 4 episodes. Yeah, but I got. Once I got past those 4 episodes, it got really good for me. And I totally spotted the bad guy from the start. Not the obvious bad guy. Yeah. The less obvious bad guy. Again, spoilers. Yeah. Billy Russo. Do you know who I'm talking about? Slimy guy.
Yeah.
The slick back head. Yeah. Good looking, slimy guy.
Yeah.
I think in the very first episode, I was like, he's a bad guy.
It's
called that one out.
Yeah, well, you haven't seen all of it yet, so you don't know don't know if he's actually secretly a good guy.
Is
you don't know if he's actually.
Is he the false hero?
Superpowered. You don't know.
Is he gonna have a bag of money or save the Punisher? And it's gonna be like, ooh,
very rich guy.
A bit of sweat going down
in the DC universe. I know it's Marvel, ain't it? Oh damn! I was gonna say maybe he's Batman, but nah, it's will work. It's Marvel.
No, that would be a bit far fetched. Yeah, Punisher, but. What I would say is, despite my issues with the first 4 episodes, and I don't think that's necessarily an objective opinion, I think subjective is maybe a bit more subjective. So that is not a critique in any way. I think overall the fight scenes are really, really good in it. I love the guy, I can't remember his name, who plays the Punisher. I think he's a really good actor. And he does a good job with some sort of ropey lines. I like the guy who plays Micro as well. He's in Girls.
At what point do you like him?
Oh, just start? Like as an actor. I just like him as an actor. I think he's. I'm not talking about likes or dislikes for the character. But I think I like the actor who plays him. So if you've seen Girls, he's in that, and he's really good in that. I think he's quite good in this. And I should probably look up people's names because I can't remember who anyone's called at the moment. And then the proper bad guy with the the dodgy eye, is I feel like I've seen him playing a bad guy before, and he's doing a good job of that. And so I think it's hitting all the right notes that the other sort of gritty Marvel Netflix series have done before, really.
When it comes to the Marvel series, I watch it in two goes. So first half in one sitting, second half in the second sitting. So in the early days with Daredevil, you would not need it. And in fact, with Daredevil shows, you can watch it episode week to week to week to week to week. I think I would be on board with that, and I'll be fine. When it comes to these slower shows like Punisher, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, I felt like I needed to sit through a good like 4 or 5 episodes straight away, and so I see it as 2 films rather than one series. So when you say it's a bit difficult to get through the first 4, I know that because the first film I watched, it was difficult to get through.
So you struggled with the first half as well.
Yeah, but because I did it all in one sitting, I didn't mind it as much because in that one sitting, I did get a variety of action sequences. I did get a variety of character development. I did get a variety. I'm doing it in big chunks. I very much binge it. If I can view it in one day, I'll view it in one day, but most likely 2 days. So my viewing technique might be different to yours. So it might be interesting.
I think with any of the Netflix things, they're always good for binge watching, aren't they?
Yeah,
because they're designed in that way. They want to keep you.
Although
watching.
When it comes to this Frank Castle, I just felt like it is all very slow and very slow paced. Well, with Daredevil season 2, for example, I felt the first 4 episodes was like its own contained thing. Like, wow, that's really good. Then you move on to the second bit, and the next 4 episodes was like own contained thing, and then you move on to the next bit, and the last 4 episodes is own contained thing.
Yeah.
And so I thought like the way they managed that series was quite interesting. But in terms of Daredevil, it's sort of in terms of like Punisher. Sorry, I keep going on about Daredevil.
It's okay. You can recommend Daredevil because until season 3 comes out, we probably won't.
How do you feel about its message on American gun control? A lot of people automatically hated the idea of the Punisher series coming out, and they automatically put views about gun control and how awful it's going to be.
Oh, right.
But the show sort of like does.
That's interesting because I didn't really, I didn't sort of. I know it's a big part of the episodes, but to me, I just didn't. I wasn't really. I didn't, and maybe I just not thought about it enough to care. I know that sounds bad because obviously, you know, if I was thinking about society and gun control, then I'd probably have some very certain political views about it. But in terms of the show, because I'm so focused on Frank and how Frank is reacting to all of these things, I'm not seeing the bigger picture, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because it's, for me, it's like the show, like, it's all about Frank. Yeah. And how Frank sees the world and how Frank decides who gets punished and who doesn't. And why they should get punished and why they shouldn't. And some, you know, I think what the series does very well is that some things they make political for him and some things they make personal. And also the two often cross over. Yeah. And I think that's why that episode in the woods with Gunnison was really powerful, because that's where a lot of things started to combine. Yeah. So a lot of sort of seemingly random factors culminate in a fight in the woods. And you know, you start to see, okay, right, I can get what's going on here, and and the vulnerability of Frank sort of comes through, and he starts to sort of realize that he can't survive on his own. He needs help, because that's like the real turning point where he's like starts to listen to what Micro has to say and his input into things, because he essentially saves his life. Again, spoilers, but but it's done really well. And so for me, like I'm not like up in arms about the gun crime sort of thing, because for me it's like, well, it's not. I can see that having a lot more resonance in America, and even like now with recent events, you can sort of see why people would be, for want of a better phrase, up in arms about it.
Yeah, quite literally. It's also the so I felt the show doesn't really focus. The show does focus on quite well in terms of like when the characters starts to like threaten to kill people and start killing people, and like Frank's saying like, no, what I'm doing is controlled, what he's doing is not controlled. Like, and that was kind of interesting. I kind of put the perspective on. It's about the gun being in the right hands. But I thought like because like there are loads of articles about like oh, this show will be terrible and like and it'll be terrible because it gives a wrong message about gun controls but I don't think it focuses on it too much.
Well, I suppose and that's where it sort of it gets interesting as well when people start to question, well, Frank, are you just a terrorist, or are you doing the right thing? Because it's always like that. Oh yeah, it's okay for him to do what he does because he's killing murderers and drug dealers. Whereas if you kill innocent people, then that's bad. And so what it sort of starts to bring into question is, well, who has the right to decide who dies and who doesn't, which is, I suppose, a debate that in this country we've very much resolved with the removal of the death penalty, I guess. But I sort of think in America there's always going to be that wider reaching debate about the right to protect and the right to carry arms, and so I think those aspects of the show are going to connect a lot more with the American audience.
And how do you feel about the because when I first saw the trailer for Punisher, because at the end of Daredevil, his sort of mini stories were sort of resolved. He's killed the people responsible for killing his family, and he goes off and he's a Punisher, and then in this film, in this series, it's sort of rehashed. It's sort of like
I know what you mean. So I think the continued flashbacks and I suppose my wonder is whether they did that for somebody who hasn't seen Daredevil series 2. So it gives Frank a bit more of a purpose, I guess, because without that information you might wonder why he's doing what he's doing, I guess. So, and it's always his family backstory is always the part that makes him human as well. So I think if you take that out, he's just sort of a like two-dimensional vigilante, isn't he? So maybe that's why that's there.
Kind of reminded me of like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, because like his whole thing is like, I'm gonna kill the man who murdered my family, and he kills the man who murdered his family, and they make a joke of it at the end, but it's also quite clever the way they do it. Like, and basically he said, well, now Ronan's dead, you don't have to, your family's avenged. He goes, well, Ronan was just a puppet. I'm going to kill whoever hired him, and whoever hired him, and whoever hired him.
So that's what they sort of bring in,
and I felt like it was more successfully done in like a little joke in Guardians of the Galaxy than it was done in this one.
harsh.
Yeah, well, like I say, I did. I felt like once you give the audience an ending to a story, you can't bring that story back up with
Right.
the
I
same
see
sort
what
of
you mean.
context. It's sort of like there wasn't any more stakes to it. It was just like, yeah, we set it up. We knew your family was there. Well, then in the last thing, they knew the family was there. I don't know. It just felt like it
Yeah.
wasn't an evolution of a
But
story.
that's all part of those first like sort of 4 episodes that I was like
Yeah.
struggling with, because I think, like you say, you're going back over old ground, people making throwaway comments like, oh, this is, people were still out there that were responsible for your family, and and then there's this new, we're bringing in this new sort of videotape that's incriminating, and yeah, I think I don't disagree with that, but again, I think my only guess is that they brought that in because of the viewers, trying to bring in those viewers who haven't seen Daredevil, and it still makes sense.
Nice,
yeah.
But yeah, got any more points on the Punisher?
I don't think so. I mean, I suppose as a show, I think I'd recommend it for anybody who maybe wants anybody who's a fan of the pre-existing Netflix Marvel series.
Definitely.
Because I think it ties in with that series quite well. If you don't like extreme violence, it's maybe not the show for you.
Although the show handles it really nicely, is it's not all violent, and it's sort of like, it's not, when it's all violent, I just feel like it's mindless violence. Because they choose the points where it is violent, it just strikes you a lot more.
Yeah,
I see a lot more graphical stuff than that's in the Punisher. However, because of how they space it out, it just seems a lot more graphic in the Punisher.
Yeah, so that's why it has more impact, and that's why I maybe wouldn't recommend it for somebody who doesn't like extreme violence.
Or you're with somebody and you wanna like, you're a couple and you want someone to say, oh, a couple, and like, I know some couples like to watch horror movies and one person hates the horrific part and likes the person to say, oh, look away now, and stuff like that. So if you want to earn some boyfriend points or girlfriend points, watch it ahead and be like the hero. Like you did it with this film,
maybe
this TV show.
But I don't think it's like, it's not necessarily an easy watch. It's not like Tomb Raider, and you're not going to watch it and just go, oh, that was great. You're more like, it is going to sort of push you a bit. I don't think it goes, it doesn't, it doesn't push you as much as it could in that regard. So I think anyone who's interested in watching a good sort of gritty action series, it's quite dark in places, but it's there's a bit of light in other places. So I think if it strikes a good balance, and like I say, I think it fits in with and like the Luke Cage series, is another good solid addition to the universe on Netflix.
Yeah. However, going into the universe of Netflix, I do strongly recommend you start with Daredevil because of the pacing of the show, and the first season of Daredevil is just so well paced. I think it really gets you invested in the universe and allows you to go to the shows.
Or you just start with the best, which is Jessica Jones series 1.
Nah, Daredevil, definitely.
Jessica Jones.
Daredevil, it's
I think we'll have to agree to disagree on this one.
Daredevil is a superhero show, and Jessica Jones isn't a superhero show.
Well, that's what
I think.
Yeah, but that's what makes it. This, your own words, James. If you take the superpowers away, which is a better show?
But Daredevil, his superpowers are so minor in terms of like visually, and I think the great thing about Daredevil is like, even though he's got like super senses, they don't play in it. I think that's the great thing about that. He's a super skilled fighter, and he's got the ability to sense stuff. But the great thing about this, in comparison to like the Daredevil movie, is that this doesn't play on his senses. You don't think, oh my god, he uses super radar there. Oh my god, he uses super sense. In fact, they haven't actually established his super senses at all in the movie, in the TV show. In the Daredevil TV show, you've seen one clip, one snippet of exactly what he sees. That's it. When the film really played on that quite a lot of the footage of that devil was seeing how he sees and seeing how he can get around, seeing how he can fight it. So yeah. I think sorry, I'm reviewing Daredevil there. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, because like we say, I assume there's going to be a season 3 of Daredevil.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so well, maybe we'll save a.
Oh, who knows? Who knows? Because
because if you've seen. So now we're moving into what is it called? Is it Avengers?
Defenders.
Defenders. That's
it.
At
the end, Defenders.
Which I don't know. I would recommend Jessica Jones just the first season, because I think it's just really well done, and David Tennant is a really good character.
Jessica Jones is a sort of show you can watch it and think it's really good, and then someone tells you they're viewing it, and you're thinking, "Wow, okay, I didn't think about that way." And there's a few ways you can actually see that show.
But yeah, I mean, I think it is. I don't know why, but I think in my head, David Tennant really reminds me of the bad guy in the TV series Heroes. Do you remember him?
Sailor.
Yeah, the one who could collect other people's powers, and he's just this like ultimate threat that needs to be overcome. And I just thought it was really well done. But
I just love the way how human he was. You know, he got this ultimate threat, and then you meet him, and he's actually quite a nice guy. He's like a kid who's just not really been taught any boundaries, and this is what happens when he's a victim of his own power rather than. And it's sort of like it's. And when you hear him talk, about like, when he asks, when he tells a guy to fuck, when he says like the moment the time I told a guy to fuck himself, that was was that the swear? I don't know.
I think we probably just made the podcast adult. But
yeah. Oh, we could just bleep that. I don't know.
Well, who's got the time to add?
Well, like I said, he told someone to duck himself, and that was crazy.
I think I'm looking forward to Jessica Jones Series 2, but I'm not going to say let's review Jessica Jones Series 2 next week, because I won't have watched it by then.
No.
But also because we've been a little bit superhero heavy, I feel.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to choose something next week that was a little bit you know, on the more less sort of fantastical side. I don't know. Maybe we need to.
Well, I've seen Peter Rabbit. If you want to do that.
No, not particularly.
I Love Dogs is Wes Anderson. We could possibly do.
Oh, what you think? Oh, film wise, I was thinking
TV shows,
film wise, Real Player One's out, isn't it?
Oh, cool, yeah,
Spielberg.
yeah. Real Player One, or
so I think we should definitely focus on that.
Yeah, cool.
But TV series wise, we could maybe do. I don't know. Now that we've made the podcast adult, we could maybe do I Love Dick.
Yeah. We could do that. But you were just saying a name then, so technically we could do one bleep for me, and we'd have to bleep for you because we're just reading out a name.
Yeah.
That's because obviously that means Richard. So that's
See, in my head now, I'm really hoping that no students ever listen to this podcast and record my snippet of me saying a certain line there. So maybe, but should we do that show anyway?
Yeah. I think there's a lot to say about that show. I think
it's an offbeat show.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to get. It's not. I don't think it's got the success it deserves.
Have you seen Transparent yet?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Or This Is Us. Have you seen This Is Us?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No, I haven't.
So let's focus on one that we've both seen, which is I Loved It.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Say it quickly. We'll change it.
I can try, James. So that's it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. So that's another episode done. How are we doing for time?
So an hour and 15 minutes. So we shaved off like 25 minutes. 25 minutes.
That's good. So
yeah.
So again, if you are still listening, then glad that you've made it through this far, and I hope you've enjoyed hearing us talk about the 2 programs this week, and that you tune in next week for Real Player One.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Ready Player One.
Oh, Ready Player. Yeah. There you go. See.
But we're gonna keep it real though, so
we're gonna.
That's what we mean by that.
Yeah.
We're gonna really.
So you know, we're obviously not off to a good start with it. So it's Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you read the book at all?
No, I haven't.
No, I've not read it either. So fresh eyes. So yeah.
Have you got any thoughts? I don't really have any thoughts about it.
No, I've been very good at staying away from the advert of this film. Yeah. Although I've been told that the advert doesn't actually show that much of the story.
Yeah, the trailer just looks crazy. Yeah. I'm just like, I don't know. I literally don't know what to expect from the film, and I like that. I like going into a film without any expectations, and without thinking this is what the film is going to be. Obviously, I know it's about some sort of virtual reality or virtual world, and obviously, it being Spielberg sort of ups the ante a little bit.
Yeah,
you know. But some people are saying that it's his best yet.
Yeah, I try not to listen to that because my expectations go crazy.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, that's a bold claim.
Yeah. The for what you just said about like going into film fresh, I do recommend Screen Unseen from the Odeon, and so I think it's like once every 2 weeks they basically have one screening in the evening, in the week sometime. And you don't know what the film is, it's at a discount price. You can just go in there, sit down, and watch this random movie which is about to come out. And so there's Screen Unseen, which is a non-movie, and there's also Scream Unseen, and it's a horror movie.
Yeah, horror. Yeah. So
you want a cheap movie night, then Screen Unseen is what I recommend.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
Yeah.
Are there other Screen Unseens out there available? Do we need to put a caveat in?
No.
Do other cinema. So maybe we can just contact Odeon for a little plug fee.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe not.
Let us know if you give them the money because of us. And we'll.
Or let us know if you want to give us some money.
Just randomly. Yeah,
we don't need it obviously because we're not.
We don't have a PO box or anything like that. But if you tell us you're going to give us some money, I'm sure we can work something out. I think we can. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find an offshore account that we can.
Damn right. Yeah. Yeah, that way.
We can put it into, or we can just sign some papers to confirm that our dads have died, and then we'll get loads of inheritance. That's another way to make money, apparently.
That went really dark. Okay.
Do you not? It's a Tomb Raider reference.
Yeah. Sorry.
See, there you go. All right. So I think James's brain is fried, so I think we might need to call it a day. So thanks for listening to the first official episode of Screen Views, and we hope that you look forward to next week and hearing our views about the films that we've mentioned. We'll get the titles correct next week, and in the meantime, have a good week and try and maybe see some of the stuff that we've talked about that if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and just goodbye for me as well. The same. Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.